Hello, hello. Is that an HBCU grad I see?
Hey, yes, it is. Do I see one looking at me?
Right back at you, baby. So glad to have this conversation tonight. So glad you're going to lead this conversation with some other amazing HBCU grads.
Yes.
So as people are coming on in the room, as they're getting their notifications, if you want to give them their welcome, go forth.
Yes, yes. Well, good evening, family and friends, and welcome to the yard. Yes, not your backyard, not your front yard, but the yard at the college or university. Historically Black Colleges and University. Tonight we are celebrating, and we will be on the yard with some people who are have been experienced as far as their HBCU time and are now made it into the professional setting, and they are crushing it and making a major move. So we are delighted that you have joined us as we continue in our Black History celebration this month. Although we don't wait for February at the 5th, we have it every day, but we are highlighting our historically Black colleges and universities. We have six individuals with us tonight, 6 graduates, and potentially 7 if one actually clears the work calendar in time to make it with us. But we have some wonderful people coming. We have Benjamin Mcknight III, who's with us from Morgan State University. He's a grad. We have Ashley Cooks and Corey Cooks from Langston University. We have Mrs. Kenji Baker from Alabama A&M University, Miss Nicole Webster from Virginia State University, and Ms. Ashley Macklin from Norfolk State University. And of course, we have our First Lady, Dr. Sherry Coleman from Spelman College. And we have Reverend Dawn Bowles from the Virginia State University in Petersburg, Virginia. But we're delighted to be here. You're going to hear more about these individuals that have joined us tonight, these HBCU grads. It is under 40 HBCU professional pride. So as we are continuing tonight, we're going to want you to put your HBCUs in the chat wherever you attended. Drop those in the chat for us. We'll also give you the opportunity to ask questions throughout the session. We hope, I see Fisk is in the house. Okay, somebody put that Morehouse is in the house. All right. So we'll give you the opportunity. VSU is in the house. So we'll give you the opportunity to drop questions in for the panelists as well. And we're just going to have a good time tonight on the yard. Another VSU on the yard. Again, welcome. Yes, HBCUs are transformational institutions. What I'm going to do right now is we're going to kick this off with a short video, and it's going to be the voices of students who are attending historically Black colleges and universities right now. So these are current students that are in the mine, in the mold, on the yard. I see you, FAMU, doing their thing on campus. And then we're going to come back out and move to our panelists. All right. So I'm going to pull this up for you right now. Take some time. And let's unwind on the yard. Let's hear what the young folk have to say.
I chose to attend an HBCU.
I chose an HBCU, so I decided to go to HBCU.
I chose to go to HBCU.
It wasn't that I chose to go to an HBCU chose me.
I always knew that I was going to go to college. I always knew that I was going to go to an HBCU.
Well, HBCUs often give off the vibe of intelligent, cooperating, successful Black people who have a desire to do greater things in this world.
There's always this concentration on developing our community.
We live in a society where there's often the stigma of uneducated African-American males. That's often the prevailing sort of narrative in the nation.
Me and most of my cousins are in college right now, and I wanted to just expound on that and go a place where I can be surrounded by like-minded people.
That could sort of encourage me to succeed and rise along with them.
An HBCU is not just for African Americans. It is for the underlying theme that anybody who is welcome should go to an HBCU.
Every shoe doesn't fit every person, so it would make sense to find the shoe that fits you best.
I don't mean to sound cliche, but I like being around my people.
I just wanted to experience something different from my hometown. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts.
I went to an all-white high school, and it was kind of being the outcast.
I come from California, where most of the public school systems are like 70% white and Asian.
I cried my first day. I cried in the car, and I called my mom. I told her I couldn't do it. But once I got there and I sat in the classroom and I saw students raise their hand and who weren't afraid to answer questions like I was in high school, it opened my eyes.
So I decided to go to a HBCU to kind of experience more of the Black culture that I felt that I didn't get.
I knew that attending an HBCU would better aid in my goal of disseminating knowledge throughout the African American community.
I think it's cool too because I go to HBCU, but I'm a Latino man. So
they had experiences that I never had, and I had experiences that I could share. And we bonded that way.
I went to like a predominantly white school and I lived in a small town. So just learning more about me, myself, and my image was my main goal.
It's very important to know where you came from.
Being a part of majority is underrated.
My HBCU is full of very rich history. You meet people there that have history, that have substance behind them.
We have our own system we can set up and serve our own people for our own benefits and education.
More of a historical and personal point of education.
It's really been a lot more about understanding myself as a person and less about, being Black or being this and being that.
It's okay, this is who you are in this world. This is how you're viewed, and this is how you could make a change upon it.
Now it's about who are you authentically.
For a lot of us, it's like our first time away from home.
The support that you gain from the HBCU is truly unparalleled.
I didn't want to be just another number.
I have gotten a lot more hands-on experience, and the teachers are a lot more willing to work with you.
You can walk down the street, know each other.
So it's not just a relationship with the classmate, it's a relationship where you all are friends or associates, and it extends outside of the classroom.
And it's not the family like your blood family that you grew up with, but it's this other family that you kind of have, and it's really great because, family is important.
Our campus is, 3,000 students? Including commuters. So the class sizes are probably 20 students. So the environment is intimate with sufficient wiggle room.
Everybody really bonds and clicks together.
People are pushed. They push each other. They push each other to succeed.
They teach me how to respect myself. Like when I see alumni coming back, and they teach me how to respect my HBCU as well and my roots.
To be able to sit down with a professor and not just feel rushed.
Everything I wrote, she double and triple marked through with red, and kind of at the time I felt like she was tearing my papers apart. But now when I look at my writing compared to the writing that I did.
That's what college is. If you're going to live your life, and you're going to travel and you're going to do all the fun and the cool stuff and the crazy stuff and the stupid stuff and the smart stuff, this is the time to do it.
I mean, it's the best decision I ever made. I left 900 miles away from my friends and family and started a brand new journey. And it's been amazing for me.
I can honestly say from the last 4 years, my college experience has really been A1. I can't complain. I'm blessed.
Kimberlyn Elliott, I'm a junior at Florida A&M University.
Alexandria Brooks, I am a junior biology pre-health major at Alabama State University.
Cesar Cunningham, I am a graduating senior at Kentucky State University.
Samara Wickfall, junior biology major from Benedict College.
Christian Cruz, CHRSTIN Cruz, COUZ, classification as senior. I graduate in December. And school is Bethune-Cookman University, Daytona Beach, Florida.
I'm Emily Lancaster. I'm a graduating senior from Kentucky State University.
I'm Khadijah Jones. I'm a junior from Bethune-Cookman University.
Jordan Bates. I attend Xavier University of Louisiana, and I'm a sophomore chemistry pre-pharmacy major.
Diamond Watts. I am a second semester junior, and I attend Bethune-Cookman University.
Jonah Lavelle. I'm a senior psychology major, and I'm born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Fatine Cooper. I'm a sophomore at Bethune-Cookman University.
Joshua Lavelle, senior social work major from New Orleans, Louisiana, and I attend Southern University at New Orleans.
I'm Courtney Wills. I am a junior at Spelman College.
I'm Scotty White from West Virginia State University. I'm a senior studying communications.
I'm George Wanze. I'm a junior history major at Morehouse.
I am Ayana Smith. I am a senior history major at Clark Atlanta University.
David Wilson, freshman from Morehouse College.
My name is DeAndre Swells. I'm a senior philosophy sociology double major from Vallejo, California.
Alexandria Sutton, junior chemistry major, Spelman College.
All right, Dr. Coleman. All right, wonderful. So we just listened to several young people who are in HBCUs right now, and they ended by giving their name and their major and their classification. So what I want to do at this point is I want to go around this yard that we're on right now and go ahead and give us your name, give us your school, although we can see it, share with us what your major was in school and your actual career title that you have right now. And we'll go ahead and start with Ms. Cooks. You're at the top of the screen, so I'll just go ahead and call you out.
Hello, everyone. I am Ashley Cooks. I graduated from the real LU, Langston University, Oklahoma's only HBCU. I majored in early childhood education. I am currently a virtual teacher for Edmond Public Schools and also the owner and operator of Ashley K's Virtual Tutoring Academy.
Thank you. Mr. Mcknight.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Benjamin Mcknight III. I was a journalism major at Morgan State University, graduated class of 2017. I'm currently a public affairs writer for the United States Navy as a contractor, and I'm also a first lieutenant in the United States Army Reserves.
Thank you. Ms. Webster.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nicole Webster. I graduated from Virginia State University. I graduated in 2003 with a Bachelor of Science degree in accounting, and I'm currently working at the State of Connecticut Department of Transportation, and I am an internal auditor.
Thank you. Ms. Macklin.
Hi, my name is Ashley Macklin. Everyone knows me on my yard as Ash Mac. I am a media personality for Hot 104.1 in St. Louis, as well as Hot 96.3 in Indianapolis from 10 to 3 p.m. And I have a degree, and I have a music major degree. I was a music major, music media minor in communications, class of 2012.
Thank you. Mr. Cooks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Corey Cooks. I'm a proud graduate of Langston University. And my majors in college were organizational or business administration, broadcasting and journalism, and theater arts. Yes, I triple majored in undergrad. I'm currently a master's student. I'm 2 classes short of my master's degree in special education, and that is my current field of work. I'm a special education teacher for Edmond Public Schools here in Oklahoma.
Thank you. All right, Mrs. Baker.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kenji Baker, a very proud graduate of Alabama A&M University in Normal, Alabama, where I studied business administration, class of 2018. I'm currently a regional analyst at the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta.
Thank you. And Mr. Mason.
My name is James Mason. I went to Norfolk State University, graduated 2012 with an accounting degree. And I'm currently a 4-H agent. As you can see, I'm repping hard. A 4-H agent in Sussex County.
Thank you. And I am Reverend Dawn Bowles, graduate of Virginia State University in Petersburg, Virginia. Also started my undergraduate career at Hampton University and then transferred to Virginia State University. Undergrad, I was a music education major, pursuing that degree in instrumental music. Pre-K 12 as far as the education side. And I live and breathe HBCU and the opportunity to encourage others to attend HBCUs and be a part of the pride that we are going to talk about tonight. So we want to welcome all of our panelists today, and we're just going to have a good time. All right, we're going to have a good time. The grill is burning in the back. I got some hamburgers, some hot dogs, some steaks on there. So after this, we're going to go hang out and get something to eat. Our pastor has welcomed to each of you. That's Pastor A. Byron Coleman. He just put that on the screen for us. So again, we're delighted to be here with each other tonight. But we're going to dive right in, get some introductory questions out of the way. Of course, the first question would be, why did you choose an HBCU, and like what led you to your specific choice? Even if it wasn't Virginia State, what led you to your specific choice? And anybody can go ahead and jump in.
I'm gonna jump in first because I'm from Norfolk State. I'm a Norfolk State grad, and V-State wasn't an option for me. No, but it's all love between our schools all the time. I love our rivalry because it's always love. Honestly, I went to school on a music scholarship, so I thought about going to Hampton until I was like, one of my friends showed me a band roll from 2005 and efforts to get me to go to North Carolina A&T. The mistake she made was showing me this battle against Norfolk State. Now, I did not know who this band was and this green and gold. I just knew they demolished Aggies, okay? And I said, oh my gosh, when I listened to this music, I said, I just got chills. I said, I don't know what school that is. I'm going there. So it was destined to be, because it was only like 15, 20 minutes away from Hampton. You know, a lot of my family went to either Virginia State or they went to St. Paul's College in Lawrenceville, Virginia, in Brunswick County. So, you know, I felt like I was right at home when I went there. So I just wanted to make sure to go to an institution that was always built for me and that always chose me. And I thought that was the most important thing for me to do. And also seeing the love that my grandparents had for their schools. My grandfather is a graduate from St. Paul's College, as well as my grandmother is a graduate from Howard University.
Okay. So we got some family history there, and we got to check for band. Okay. Band and family history. All right. Ms. Webster, go ahead.
So I'm from a small town in Connecticut, Bloomfield, and in high school we had a new teacher come to town, and her name was Dawn Bowles. And we in Bloomfield, we never knew about HBCUs. We never knew about the marching band. We never knew about anything Southern or anything. But this new teacher, everyone was just talking about this new teacher, and the teacher would always tell us about the marching band. And she created a new band, and she got all the students together, and she made a marching band, and she brought Virginia State marching band to the school, and we fell in love because we never saw a marching band. We never saw dancers before. We never saw flag girls before. We never saw a drum line before. And then she took us on a trip to Virginia State University, and then she brainwashed us. And she kept on telling us, you're going to Virginia State, you're going to Virginia State. And then so about a crew of 10 of us ended up going to Virginia State. And after my first year there, everyone got homesick and left me there by myself. And I was the only one to actually finish my 4 years there. I just ultimately fell in love with the culture, fell in love with the band, ended up being a part of the band, being a flag girl, creating everlasting friendships, family, that the bond, everything was just great. I've never been part of the culture, never knew anything about HBCUs until I was introduced to it by Mrs. Bowles. So that's how I was picked or introduced to the HBCU life. So I'm forever indebted to you. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I'll go next. I grew up in a small town as well in Texas, a town that was really small, attended a district that was predominantly people that did not look like me. I came across a competition called AXO, sponsored by the NAACP, won the competition and went to New York to compete. And that was kind of when I first had an experience seeing people who looked like me doing amazing things. Mm-hmm. And so that is what drew me to I wanted more of that. I wanted that cultural experience. And so I then became heavily involved with the NAACP as a high school student and came to Oklahoma for the first time. And met the late Clara Looper. And she is the one who inspired me and talked to me about Langston University and about HBCUs. I did apply to some other ones. I applied to Spelman, got accepted. I applied to Fisk, got accepted. And I applied to Langston. I chose Langston because of not only from the inspiration from Clara Looper, but also because it was close enough to get home, but far enough away to be gone. And it was the experience that changed my life.
All right, I'll go next. So I spent much of my childhood around HBCUs. My parents are alumni of Florida A&M University, and all of my elementary school time living in Tallahassee, I was always on the campus at FAMU. So I was kind of predisposed to the idea of going to an HBCU early on. When it came time for me to make my college decisions, I applied to dozens of colleges, but realized that I needed to find a way to pay for these schools. So I ended up going to community college and trying again at a later time. And when I did, I was stuck between Morgan State University and a PWI down the street, Towson University. And what really sold me on Morgan was just the community aspect of things. Ironically enough, during this process, I was also trying to do Army ROTC. And the recruiter for the ROTC department at the time was roommates with my father in college. Really small world. I would have never guessed that was a thing, but I said my name and he told me to stop because he recognized my name. Next thing I know, I'm applying to Morgan, get in, get all the scholarships I need and everything. But just feeling that familial, that community aspect, even before I got to Morgan, that's really what sold me on selecting my HBCU.
Awesome. All right, we'll keep moving. If no one else wants to add to that one, a lot of things were said just now. We had band, we had introduced to the culture, and not having a presentation of the culture before HBCUs were brought to your attention. Supportive groups like the NAACP that led initiatives that also exposed you to HBCUs if you hadn't been exposed before. Also, I heard people who looked like me doing amazing things. And so again, that exposure is key for young people to be able to see others who have the same image that they have. And then developing and reaching out for that community aspect. So that family, that community, that culture, that exposure, and others that had been to these same spaces, pulling and encouraging you, as Ms. Webster said, you didn't have a choice, but pulling and encouraging you to follow in their footsteps, to be a part of the greatness that they had experienced. So we can see how the legacies continue, whether it's by blood or not. There's a history there in the legacy of people passing on what they had experienced. So I want to move to another question that we have here. When making your choice, coming from various backgrounds, did you experience any discouragement or judgment from others who were making a decision to attend a PWI or not to attend school at all, or not to go away to school, rather stay at home? What type of conversations did you have with those in your circle, from peers to adults in your life? All right, go ahead, Mr. Cooks. I see you.
Okay, so, and also to piggyback off the last question, I was an athlete. And I was actually recruited by some universities, including one of the universities was Texas Tech University. And a couple of things happened where I had an injury that kind of backed some schools off of. And then another issue happened where the coach at Texas Tech University was fired and another coach was hired and told me I wasn't promised the scholarship that they had promised me before. So what ended up happening was I kind of looked around at some other schools to play sports at. Didn't really work out because a couple of schools where they would give me a partial scholarship, but I would have to pay the rest. And these were private schools. And we were talking about $8,000 to $10,000 a semester, which for a boy like me coming from the inner city in Oklahoma City, I ain't had that money. So basically what ended up happening was I was introduced to Langston University. I went, signed on to Langston University, and I played basketball at Langston University. But I had some of my peers who were in high school with me. Now, I'm a product of Oklahoma City Public Schools, and it was a big deal if you went to a D1 school. Mm-hmm. And some of my peers went to these D1 schools. And then the fact that they seen me go to Langston, they thought it was inferior. But what ended up happening with most of them is they went and ended up flunking out and ended up coming back home. At Langston, my professors would not allow me to flunk out. That it was not an option. You went to class, you did the work, and if you didn't, I had professors call me up. I even had one come to my dorm room one time because they were like, "You haven't been in class in a couple of days. Where you been at? You missing work. You're not finna fail. You're not finna flunk out. You're not finna be a statistic." And that was a great experience for me, being able to go to Langston University. And even though, you know, I didn't live my hoop dreams like I wanted to, I feel like it was in God's will for me not to go to the PWI, but to go to the HBCU to learn and also to be developed and to grow.
Thank you. Anybody else want to jump in on that one?
I'll piggyback off of that. My experience is very, very similar to Nicole Webster's, with Don Bowes being like the foundation of me going to an HBCU and the whole band background. But I will say the reason why I didn't go to a PWI, because I did have exposure, like growing up in Kansas City, you know about Mizzou, you know about KU, but my friends went to those schools and a lot of them didn't make it. And I'd say the reason why I didn't choose a PWI is because the class sizes were much larger than the class sizes that we were exposed to going on those band trips and having those campus tours at UAPB and VSU and all these other places. So I'm like, well, if I can have that interaction with my professor and they can know my name by the second week of class and, you know, won't be afraid to email me if they see that I'm struggling with something and we have that, build that relationship eventually, then that's really where I think I should be, you know, aside from band, because I promise you that was the reason. But aside from that, you know, I thought that was important for me. So.
I'm going to jump in here too. When it comes to me applying to schools and choosing Norfolk State University, it's crazy because I went to a Mcknight High School. I'm from New Jersey. So with my Mcknight High School, it was focus driven on being a college-based driven high school. I had a major in high school. My major was pre-engineering. I had schedules that you can build on your own in free periods. You had to have community service and an internship in order to graduate. But the difference was with my guidance counselors, they didn't guide us towards any HBCUs at all. They guided us towards the schools that were close by, your NJITs, your St. John's. A lot of students went to schools within New Jersey or to New York, which wasn't far at all. So I had to do my own research at the end of the day. And I based my research off of what people I knew or family went to, and just the fact of my love for music. And I feel like my love for music carried me to where I was supposed to be. And to piggyback off of what Mr. Cook said, I think it's important that my school, just similar to his, made sure I stayed in school. When I didn't have a way to pay for out-of-state tuition, my school found a way to keep me in school. And it's crazy because people from financial aid will call my parents. My advisor will call my parents. You know what I mean? And they built their own rapport, and my band directors will be in communication with my parents outside of me. So, you know, I think it's the love that our schools have, is that they pour into us, and it's full cup. They pour into us mentally, spiritually, and financially. And I think that's the most important thing too. Not only do they look like us, our institution cares about us, and I'm not a number.
I just want to jump in real quick. You know, question number 2, what I found was I didn't get that from people at home. What I got was when I actually went to school and people asked where I was from, and I said from Connecticut, people would say, you didn't want to go to UConn? That's the question that I got from from people that were from Virginia. It was kind of a surprise that I would come there to school versus stay in Connecticut and go to the big school like UConn because of the, you know, the sports and basketball and stuff. They were surprised that I would actually leave Connecticut and come to a HBCU and not go to UConn because of, you know, the big hype with basketball and whatnot. And then the second part of it was there's Black people in Connecticut. They were shocked about that part of it. But my parents and my family and stuff, they were all for it. Because for me, on the back end of things, I went to a school that was predominantly Black. So I didn't have that flip side of being around. I was always around my people. So I didn't have that other aspect of it. I was always around my people. So it wasn't it wasn't until I actually went into the workforce where I was amongst when I was the minority.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it was different.
And it's interesting that you say that, because our regions of the United States have either a liking to or unliking to HBCUs or exposure to it, because coming from that Black school, like literally predominantly Black school, and never having heard of or been exposed to HBCUs within a Black population, but that was because of the region that the school was in. When you're in New England, okay, we're not there. So you're in a Black school, but no one in your Black school knows about any of the schools as you travel down 95 South, you know, nothing like that. So a lot of the times the lack of exposure is what hinders our Black and brown brothers and sisters who are dispersed throughout the United States, because no one is reaching to them. No one is getting there. And so that is one of the things that I know a lot of schools have been able to market on as far as admissions processes and recruiting now. HBCUs are realizing you have to go beyond the state that you're in. You have to go beyond the local schools that are in your, 30-mile radius. You have to go and travel, get on a plane and go to a different state, go to some of the large recruiting fairs, get on the radio and broadcast, actually be actively involved now on social media, because there are young students out there who need the connection, and they don't know that the connection exists, but universities and graduates have to realize, hey, we've got to be the one to spark that. So
absolutely.
Go ahead. Mr. Mason, I saw you trying to jump in there a couple of times. Go ahead, sir.
It's fine. I understand it's a room full of great people and everybody got something important to say, so it's okay with me. But just thinking of some of the discouraging things that I've heard about going to a HBCU, a couple of my peers were thinking when I was in school and I was doing good and I was having the grades that were better than theirs. They was like, oh, it's only because you went to a HBCU, it's easier at a HBCU. And I knew what I was doing wasn't easy, especially being in the accounting field. But that was just some of the things that I knew that people were saying about just going to a HBCU, that it was the cakewalk or the easy way.
Mm-hmm. When you were in school, this is to anybody, when you were in school, actually a student, and you are matriculating through your years, what were some of the light bulbs that went off when it was like, whoa, I'm really in the right place and I'm really being prepared with what I'm going to need to be successful? When did those things start to connect? When it wasn't just, I'm here because Sister Looper said go or Ms. Bowles said go because the band was great. What was that defining moment when it was like, yeah, I'm in the right place?
For me, I think it was because I had never had a Black teacher. And so for me, it was to have that Black teacher to give me that push to, like everybody else is saying, to demand that excellence, to make you sit at the front of the class, to make sure that, your work was turned in. There was a certain standard of how you looked, of how you came to class dressed. And so I think that building those relationships, those, a lot of those people I still talk to, like, Dr. Lewis and Miss Partridge and, people like that who really built those lifelong relationships, who became parents away from home. They demanded excellence, and not having that growing up, in a high school, we never heard about HBCUs or, as Black students, if you didn't play sports, you aren't even going to be encouraged to go to college, period. And the college that they talked about for me growing up in Texas was always going to be Texas A&M and Texas Tech, because those were the schools that everybody wanted to go to. And so for me, I think it was knowing that I actually had people who cared and who wanted me to succeed. And like the other young lady said, I wasn't a number, I mattered. And so I think that was the deal breaker for me. I was excited to go back. I had built those relationships with people. I cried when I got dropped off, but I built those relationships with people quickly. I think I went home with somebody like the first weekend that I was there, And I built those connections and relationships of, long lasting relationships with people that I still talk to, to this day. So I think that was how I knew. That was when I knew that I was in the right place at the right time doing the right thing.
I'll chime in here as well. So the semester that I got to Morgan State was fall 2014. That summer prior was a very heavy summer. That was the summer that Michael Brown had been murdered by the police, and kind of the big jump in the Black Lives Matter movement. And that was a time where I was kind of coming into my own of understanding my Blackness and what it really means to be Black in America. And mind you, the high school that I went to, it was very diverse, but I think because of how diverse it was, the people that I was around, we didn't really have those conversations. We just kind of were around each other. But after graduating, kind of going on to do other things and starting to have some of these conversations with people and seeing where many of my non-Black peers really felt about the things that we experienced and trying to invalidate our experiences, that just kind of made my drive to understand what was going on in the world and understand myself heightened. And so the day that Darren Wilson got acquitted, I had class for ROTC. And before I got to class, I went to a rally, did some things, shed a lot of tears. And we get to class, and my instructor, a Black man, Master Sergeant Blue, still talk to him to this day. I don't remember what we were supposed to learn in that class that day, but I just know he stopped everything and just asked us how we were feeling. And I'm kind of tearing up right now again, even though I didn't think I would, but it was just one of those moments where I knew if I would have went down York Road over to Towson University, I wouldn't have had that experience. Whatever was supposed to happen in class that day would have still happened. Might have talked to a couple of friends about it, might have shed some more tears, but that would have been it. But we had that moment where he just looked at us like, this is what you're dealing with. This is what we're going into. This is what you're fighting against. How are you going to come out on top? And that's when I knew I made the right decision.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Awesome. Yes. All right. So that's kind of while you're there, I'm going to ask you to quickly go around. You don't have to go into all out detail, but give us a couple of the things that you were involved in, organizations, associations, whatever those things were that you did through a social lens on your campus, community or social lens on your campus. And again, you don't have to go into detail, but just list those things so we can get you off of the campus and into the professional scene with some questions. So just tell us what you did on campus while you were there.
Oh, okay, I'll go first again. So I was part of the student newspaper, the MSU spokesman. For 2 years, I served as the editor-in-chief. I was also a member of the Morgan State University Association of Black Journalists, which was the student section of the National Association. We won Student Chapter of the Year in 2017, the year I graduated. And I'm also a member of the National Society of Persian Rifles. We are a military-oriented drill and service fraternity that was founded at the University of Nebraska in 1894.
All right.
Okay, I'll go next. Number one, I'm a part of the biggest organization on the yard, which is the Spartan Legion. I'm very tiny, by the way. James could tell you, I'm tiny. So I marched tenor saxophone. Okay, so my instrument was just as big as me. I came with dreams to march alto saxophone, and my advisor was like, your section leader is about your height, so you could go ahead and just try this. And I was just like, okay. So that's number one. I'm also a member of Tau Beta Sigma National Honorary Band Sorority Incorporated, as well as Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority Incorporated as well. So yeah, shout out to Pershing Rifles and shout out to all organizations and people affiliated with it as well. Come on now.
I'll hop in there. So while on campus, I actually only marched for 2 years because I'm all about leadership stuff and all things community, although, the band was everything. But I found peace and more like the professional development and like SGA. I was the senator for the College of Business and Public Affairs. I also was a student ambassador, so I still had kind of like front row seats to all of the band performances and everything. But I assisted with campus tours on the campus of A&M. And then I also, in my sophomore year, pledged Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. So my soror is in the White House, but and then a host of other things. I was a part of the English club, you know, and just all around leader. And I think that's, I mean, I got all of that from band and the discipline and the dedication and all the things that we would recite. And you know, the importance of waking up early and doing the PT and all that stuff. It really was my solid foundation and provided me the opportunity to do other things. So I'm blessed.
So unfortunately, I wasn't in the band or anything like that, but I was a member of Alpha Kappa Mu Honor Society while I was on campus. I also played intramural sports while I was there, and I was on the college dorm step team. I guess that counts for something.
That's a big thing. That's a big thing at our schools.
Yes.
While on campus, I was involved in Student Government Association. While I was there, I was also a member of Kappa Delta Pi Education Honor Society, as well as a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated.
And I was a part of the greatest band of all HBCUs. Hail State, Trojan Explosion.
Yes.
Virginia State. I was a diva, a satin diva flag girl. And I was also a part of the NABA, National Association of Black Accountants.
Y'all didn't mention anything about the Labor Day Classic and how we probably just blew y'all.
Did anybody else need to go? Anybody else?
I'd like to put a vote in for the Magnificent Marching Machine. Thank you very much.
Okay. I know Corey is driving and he's driving home. He'll try to get back in if he can. But on campus, I was also a part of the Trojan Explosion marching band of the Virginia State University. And yes, we did have to battle Norfolk State University every Labor Day Classic. And although we were rivals, Virginia State and Norfolk State are sister schools. You know, Norfolk State is coming right out of Virginia State. And so we are, you know, we do the rival thing for those of you that are watching us, but it's all in love. You take an L and you keep on ticking, or you give one and you keep on giving. But we all have that experience with that. So that's awesome. If you're in a band, it takes up a lot of your time. It really does take up your time. And so for those of you who are able to do multiple things, that's remarkable as well. All right. So I want to say that it is just as important to be involved in student activities and organizations and things in college as we encourage our young people to do in high school as well. It's just as important to continue those activities. It keeps you well-grounded. It keeps you disciplined. Sometimes people think when you do extra, it's going to take you away, but it kind of has a way of rooting you and giving you a foundation and keeping your head on straight. And plus you find people in those groups that become your accountability partners. And so, you know, you have a brother or sister from band that's going to make sure you're where you're supposed to be and things of that nature, as well as that leader of the band. And this happens in high school as well. But in college, those directors and those leaders, they become like your fathers and your mothers, giving you that guidance. So the band or your sorority or fraternity and those student government associations become your family as well to help you transition. So now that you've transitioned from you're getting ready to graduate, and upon graduation, my first question is, what were your experiences with accessibility to jobs? Okay, you have this degree. It's from a Black school, you know, an HBCU. What's the job market? What's the job market like? And were you able to be employed in your intended career path?
I'll hop in. My very first semester, I believe my freshman year, I had a teacher that made it known that being a music major, it's not guaranteed you'll have something that is full-time. It wasn't guaranteed that you might make it in your actual field. And when I heard that, I said, not me. Like, I don't know who you're talking to them about, but that's not going to be me. So when I heard that, it gave me an extra motivation to continue in my field and truly have something that I love to do. And I was going to make sure to get paid for it. So my thing was I continued to intern all throughout my college career. My school always gave me a platform, whether that was my first internship, well, technically my second. I had an internship in high school at Universal Records. I went back during college. Our radio station on campus was Hot 91. They gave me a platform. They allowed me to host events for a basketball team, as well as step shows or band battles. So, you know, I always give back and give my school flowers, and I go back whenever I can, because even though that may have slightly discouraged me a little bit, at the end of the day, I just knew I wasn't going to be whatever statistic that teacher was talking about. And I work in my field to this day. So I just like to tell everybody, whatever that you love to do, whatever that is, chase after it hard. And you can find something, you know, there isn't an oversaturated field, but as long as you love what you do, there's going to be something for you at the end of the day, period. So if there's anybody that's watching that would like any type of help when it comes to radio and broadcasting or television, it's something called an air check that's definitely needed. I will be more than happy to offer my assistance. I still do for students that are in the band today and any students that reach out to me about it. So yeah.
Okay. And Ashley, we'll get your information and make sure we drop everything on our page and on our website. And that's for anybody. If you have your contact information, you want to be available for anyone who wants questions or young people to reach out, we'll make a little pad for you, and then you know they can contact you. Ms. Walker, I think you were about to jump in on that question.
I was just gonna say I'm like always very like optimistic and just want to be 30 steps ahead. So freshman year, I went to it's called, what is it, career day or something, where all of the companies come and, you know, you get to either interview or just get more information. And I went as a first semester freshman, not knowing really that as a freshman, they're not really looking for freshman interns. So, I mean, it was great exposure, but as more folks started to tell me, you know, they're really looking for a junior level, second semester, sophomore level to provide those internships to. I kind of had to take a step back and realize that a lot of these companies, you know, they just, I'm kind of just new to this. But aside from that, I had experience as a high school student to get involved early into leadership development, and that whole thing kind of created a career for me and landed a full-time position that way. But those experiences that I had on a HBCU campus and getting involved and developing those leadership skills really helped me to be successful and, you know, just a leader wherever I go, even in, you know, the office in corporate America. So I'd say just never count yourself out, but sometimes you kind of have to be, especially depending on the field, business. I mean, you have to be a little realistic with some of the things that you are looking for. So that was something for me, a hard pill to swallow, but I didn't stop there.
And I'll say when Kenji was in her senior year, why she didn't say this, I don't know. She was offered a job before she even graduated from college. She had been interning with the Federal Reserve her entire college career. And in her senior year, she came, and I always said, get it in writing, get it in writing. And she came to me, she said, Ms. Bowles, I got it in writing. And she had it in writing. And so she was already set before she graduated, knowing she was walking right into a job, you know, that was aligned to her career and, you know, with benefits and the whole nine. And so that was important. And so as you all are talking about responding to this question, I'm looking more so for how long did it take you to get actually in your your career or your field or whatever job you have. So talk about that. Let's see. Somebody said, when I graduated, I went right into my field of management. I went to work for General Motors in Pontiac, Michigan. Okay. That is one of our members, Sister Jocelle. And if I believe correctly, Sister Jocelle, did you attend Langston? You can put that somewhere in the chat. First Lady, you can let me know. But again, she went right into her field. I was able to go right into my field. I had a position before I finished my senior year, and it actually was to Connecticut. And so I interviewed in my senior year. You do your student teaching and whatnot, and I was able to move right into that. But throughout my college, my college years, I was actively working and pursuing opportunities in my field. I was attending high school band camps as a college student and volunteering and assisting and going here and going there and, and going to competitions and networking with band directors. If there was a conference, even if it were for the actual, high school band director, middle school band director, I would attend as a college student just to be in the space and place where the business was going on. And so I had to learn, put yourself where you want to be in advance of being there. And then, you'll be ready to move forward. Anybody else want to chime in on that one?
Being an educator. Oh, sorry. You want to go? Being an educator, I started substituting my senior year. So my last semester, I started subbing as much as I can and just getting my name out there. I also had tons of letters of recommendation. So the day that I turned my application in for Oklahoma City Public Schools, I got a phone call that day, interviewed, and had a job. And so just like everybody else is saying, put yourself out there for what you want to do. Network and communicate and get those letters too, because that really helped.
Go ahead, Ms. Webster.
I think for me, it wasn't the fact that on paper I went to HBCU. It was more so that I was able to sell myself once I got into the room to interview. So the HBCU experience and what my teachers taught me when I was at school was the confidence that they taught or fed into or poured into me, was able to excel when I got into the room with the individuals that gave me the opportunity to sell myself. So that was the opportunity that allowed me to actually seal the job quickly after I graduated. So that was the key, and that was the thing that going to HBCU poured into me, the confidence that they poured into me.
Yes. With that, I want to jump to this question and ask you, when you compare yourself with other Black professionals that may not have attended HBCUs, what have you observed? Any differences that you've observed between your colleagues and you? Go ahead. I see you, Ms. Webster. You want to keep talking. Go right ahead.
The only thing that so what I've observed is the fact that a lot of my friends, they now, and I don't know if it's because of the fact that HBCUs have been highlighted more, or they're in the spotlight more. So a lot of my friends have now been saying, or I now hear them say, like, they wish they had the opportunity to have, if they could do it over again, they would have taken this opportunity to have gone to a HBCU. If they could have done it over again, they would have done it over again. So it's kind of like they missed that opportunity to go, and they wish they would have taken the opportunity that I ultimately had. So now it's more so, when are you going to homecoming? I want to come with you. I want to gain that experience. So that's the opportunity that's what I keep hearing, because now they see that I've gone and I'm still flourishing. I've come out on top. I'm not struggling. If anything, I've excelled. So.
So for me,
I'll go ahead and jump in. I want to apologize.
Hold
I
on.
want to apologize for dropping offline for a little bit there.
Okay. Go ahead, Corey.
Okay, I just want to say I want to apologize for dropping offline there for a little bit, but to add to Ms. Webster's point, a lot of my colleagues that I even went to high school with, or we went to rival high schools in Oklahoma City, who went to the OUs, the OSUs, the University of Central Oklahomas, the University of Texas, those schools. They got degrees, but they didn't get an opportunity to become a family like what I did at Langston University, because essentially what happened at Langston, I developed some relationships that are still going on even 20 years later, because we were a family. We all had the same issues. We had the same struggle. I mean, I think about times back when I was a sophomore living in the dorms, and I might be hungry. Somebody will share some food with me. Then my neighbor 2 doors down might be out of something. He come to me. I got you. I'm gonna take care of you. And it's just like we became a family, and we just had that tight bond. So it's different when you go to a HBCU, because the thing is, when you get there and you're there for the right reason, you're gonna look out for your family, because essentially when you get there, you become family. And so it's just, you learn how to bond and you learn how to attach. And I mean, yeah, families fight, there's disagreements and everything like that, but you learn how to connect with those that are out there with you. And some of my former classmates from high school, they don't have that. And just like what Ms. Webster said, a lot of times those people are like, yo, when is Langston's homecoming? Remind me what it is, text me, they're asking me about Langston's homecoming, and they went to OU or OSU, but they want to come to Langston's homecoming. And I mean, and it's the same thing, I remember Langston played Grambling one time. Some of my friends was asking me, was I going to the game? And at first I was like, no, I'm not going. They were like, yo, if you go with us, we'll pay your way. We just need somebody from Langston to be there with us so that, we can be vouched for it. And it's just like, okay, I didn't feel that way when I went to OU Texas game, but the thing is, that's the reality of it, because you can go to the big schools and just jump in and do whatever. But when it comes to the HBCU, it's a difference, because we all bond as one. And so we're all family, whether it's Langston University, whether it's Virginia State, whether it's Morgan State, Norfolk State, wherever, there's a bond there. Not only on campus, but there's also an HBCU bond altogether.
Just in the atmosphere, like it's just there. No matter what school you attended, we share commonalities. Go ahead, Mr. Mason.
No, I was just gonna say it's a culture that we actually created, whether it be at work or anywhere else that I go. We have a different language. We address each other differently a little bit if we know we went to HBCUs together. So it's definitely a bond that we have, just like Mr. Cooks was saying.
I was going to piggyback off of what Mr. Cook said, that bond, I mean, it includes like perseverance. Like when you say blood, sweat, and tears, that means we done been through some stuff. We got through it. When we lose a job, or in the professional environment, we know how to adapt because we've gone through some things on the campus of an HBCU. So I mean, the passion is there. It's there.
Yeah. All right. This one is just a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Do you feel that you were adequately prepared to be competitive in your field? Okay. Yeah. And I asked that because that's one of the misconceptions, that if you attend an HBCU, well, you're not going to be prepared to be competitive, and everyone on this screen tonight is not only competitive, but like is doing top things, making some great moves. As I think Dr. Coleman put, crushing a game with crushing. I forgot what she said, but like doing great things and big things. And you didn't have to identify or pattern your behaviors, your ideals, your outlooks, your aspirations after a culture that was different than your own. And so I think that is key when we're talking about HBCUs, because you're able to see excellence and reach excellence, and then allow that to lead you into being excellence, excellent as you move forward. So there's a film, and I don't know if you got a chance to look at it, but it's called Tell Them We Are Rising. And one of the statements that's made in this, the film is by Stanley Nelson, and it said it speaks to the majority. And it says that the majority is a unique and empowering experience. If you caught my sermon on Sunday, I spoke about that on Sunday and some other things. But the question is, and we're going to wrap up in about probably like 7 to 10 minutes. How did being a part of the majority, meaning at the HBCU as a part of the majority, prepare you for the return to being viewed as the minority? Because you go from one place where it's all about you, potentially to an environment where they're right back at you saying you're the minority. And I know Ms. Webster spoke about confidence a little bit, but in your work settings, have you had to deal with that? Did you find appropriate times to have to let people know, I went to an HBCU, but I am qualified, or I am certified, or I am this? Anybody want to share any of those experiences where you had to put that fist down, put the foot, and just make it known?
I would say that my HBCU, and especially my professors, definitely prepared me for once we got back into the regular newsrooms or whatever other environments that we were going to be in. You're going to know when it's time to put your foot down, when it's time to step back and be like, okay, there's a better way to handle this. Because one of the biggest things that you're going to deal with in a professional world as a Black person is microaggressions, and understanding how to categorize those of what's most important to deal with right now versus what you should deal with later is highly important. And I know that if I didn't go to Morgan and I didn't have that experience from my professors who spent many, many, many years in multiple newsrooms, won multiple prizes, won multiple awards, and have dealt with the things that I'm starting to deal with, I wouldn't have known how to deal with them as effectively. And maybe I wouldn't be thriving as much as I am now because I didn't get that teaching early on.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important when you choose to be a majority at a HBCU that we get that experience. That's only for 4 years plus, and that's a short time frame in retrospect when you think about it. I think HBCUs give us all a strong foundation. You find a sense of self, you find a sense of confidence, and luckily, same as what Kenji mentioned, that she was hired straight out of school, out of undergrad, so was I. But luckily, I've had experiences where my upper management was Black, and then later on, I had upper management that was white. So at that time frame, being an undergrad student, interning, being hired, I felt like I got a strong foundation, not only from my school, but I had upper management that was Black, that looked like me, that was also a graduate from an HBCU. So moving forward, I knew things and at least aware of the battles to choose and the battles not to choose. And I think that's important for any work setting.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say for me, just knowing that because I've never had like a Black manager or anything, but finding mentorship. Mentorship is important. So if you're coming across some issues or you having, if you're feeling some type of way about something, find somebody that you can talk to and, always keep it professional. But mentors are very important, especially in the professional environment.
For me, prayer. A whole lot of prayer, because I'm in a field where not only am I a minority by being Black, but I'm in a field with males, white males, being the only Black female. So at a point where I had to do a whole lot of prayer, lean on God every day, every morning, until there was a shift. Then I had a Black supervisor. Then I had another female, and things started moving. But it was also the foundation that was laid from going to a HBCU that held me down, where I was able to stand my ground and let them know that I'm educated, that I'm confident in the skills and the knowledge that was embedded within me, and that I had a stronger and higher power behind me that was going to guide me and carry me through. So that was the only thing that held me down. So that's what that hold true to today and going forward for me.
Let me get the plate. Let me pass the plate around. Let me find the offering plate. Yes, yes. All right. Somebody else I think was buzzing in too on that one. We're good.
Oh, I'm just gonna keep it real quick, just to piggyback off what everyone else was saying. Ms. Webster, I feel for you because I'm a special ed teacher in a school of all white women. I'm the only black man there. I'm the only man, the only black there. So I feel you. And what I would say is what I've learned that has helped me is the fact that sometimes at school, we may run into a problem and everybody starts to panic and they don't know what to do and how to fix the problem. I went to HBCU and we figured out there's more than one way to skin a cat. Yes. And so you better figure it out the best way you can. And that's what I was taught, and that's what happens at work. And a lot of times my colleagues will say, "Oh wow, how did you figure that out? Or how did you do that?" And it's like, you got to figure out another way. I'm like, if this way doesn't work, you figure out another way. If we can't do it the same way, let's find another way. So my wife, I think she's wearing the shirt. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it's for all HBCUs, because that shirt says, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. And that's at Langston University. And I guarantee you that's a motto for every HBCU.
Mm-hmm. Well, we see that Ashley and Corey were doing something else on the campus also. These are two of our lovebirds. No, this is a union that came from Langston University. And there's a lot of HBCU love and marriages and families that are built on that foundation as well. And so, although I'm making a little, joke about it, but that's wonderful. Mrs. Baker, Kenji has recently been married. What is it? 2 years now? Almost 2 years? Is it 2? And she and her husband also met in college at Alabama A&M University and have recently married. And so those are the connections that you make that, take you beyond the academic piece to where you are setting up your life, your life. And having said that, I got one more thing I want to highlight. Then I'm going to let everybody give a little closing statement to our high school students that may be watching. But one of the things is providing exposure for HBCUs. And we often think of how can we broaden that exposure for the United States. Let's talk about United States. And we've seen something that's just happened recently with our vice president, as well as our other party leaders and activists throughout the states who are representing historically Black colleges and universities. And it's as if the light switch was turned on. And because the switch was turned on, obviously by somebody else, because we didn't actually control that switch, but because they flipped it, it's like now HBCU is in the forefront. And so you're seeing more and more people who wouldn't have thought it was validated, or justified. Now it's like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, it's okay to go there. The saddest part to me about it is that it took someone else to turn on the light for some of our Black brothers and sisters to realize it's okay to go there. When we've been saying it for years. But I don't care how the light was turned on. I just hope that our young people take advantage of the opportunity, not just to go, but to see that it's not the consolation prize. That's number one. And then number two, not only do we have our vice president who attended Howard University, and we see Vice President Kamala Harris doing what she does, but that's, as she says, she may be the first one, but she's not going to be the last. And so when we look at that, the door has swung completely open, but we have to find a way to make sure we keep it open, because there are people that could be trying to close it. And so as we look at broadening broadening the exposure, this session tonight is one of those ways that we want to do that. But what is the responsibility of the HBCU grad, the alumni? What is their responsibility to make sure that the door remains open for other students that are coming forward? Okay, so that's one. And then any other advice you want to give or something you want to say to a student that may be watching that's considering making the choice between an HBCU or, a PWI. So just talk about either of those. And it's 7:41. We want to be off here by 7:45. So you actually have 3 minutes, because I need to do 1 minute at the end. So go ahead. Give me some 35, 40 seconds. We'll take it around. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll start it off. I think for those of us who are alum, this is kind of a function of being Black as well, where we're kind of stuck with being an example setter and showing people that this is the way to do things and you can be successful. We've always kind of had this onus on us that you need to be successful because you're representing so much more. And that's just what we have to do. We got to make sure that in everything that we do professionally, personally, that we are showing a certain level of excellence, because the moment that we're messing up, somebody's going to blame it on, oh, because they went there or because they're doing that, that's why that's happening. So I think it's important for us to just continue to, in everything we do, be excellent in those things and show people who are kind of on the fence or think, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't go here because of that. No, going here will only enhance your experience, but also you need to get out of it what you put into it.
Awesome.
I'm just going to jump in then and keep it going. Just like you said, Mrs. Bowles, continue to excel, continue to do those things that are being highlighted now, even if it's like Kamala here, she's the vice president now, continue to highlight and do those particular things. Whereas for me in particular, I'm going to put it out there real quick. I'm a co-founder. We're opening a school in Connecticut, a Christian school with in my church. So those are like highlights, and we got to pay it forward. So like you, Mrs. Bowles, you encourage me to go to HBCU. It's my duty now to encourage people under me to go to a HBCU.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome.
I think the responsibility is to invest our time, our talents, our resources, our dollars, to recruit and tell the story. For me, my goddaughter is technically she's a sophomore, but classification wise, based on credit, she's a junior, coming from a predominantly white school. I mean, it was telling the story. My cousin is at Langston. It was telling the story. So I think that you have to tell the story. You have to be vocal and loud and proud about where you came from and how it's benefited you. Go back to those, scholarship banquets, and go back to your churches and go back into the community and be a voice for HBCUs. I think that that's the responsibility of being a grad, is because attending an HBCU is empowerment. So in order to continue to empower, other youth, then you have to be a voice.
Awesome.
Thanks. I want to jump in on being a voice. I think it's important to share our experiences everywhere we go. I'm in the Midwest. I'm right now in Indiana. There's no HBCUs here. So when I interact with other Black families, it's crazy to me when I tell them or ask them, have you gone to HBCU? Do you know what an HBCU is? And a lot of times people say no. And I think that's so appalling to me. And that's like, you know what? Let me tell you about my school. Let me tell you about my experience. And I always feel compelled to share my experience, because you need to feel that love. You need to see it. And, being loud and proud, just like someone just mentioned, you have to be. And that's what I love sharing on my platforms. Even if it's not something about my school, I will share it about somebody else's. Yesterday, I just shared about Deion Sanders being a coach at Jackson State University. That's so big. And I think right now, since HBCUs are in the main, I guess you want to say, spotlight, I think this is our time to even be more unapologetically Black and not go backwards, to continue to go forward being unapologetically ourselves and not feeling like we have to code switch, not feeling like we have to do things to fit into whatever box society has placed us in. So we create the box. We always had the formula. So now it's to continue to do that moving forward.
Okay, I'm gonna just give this for 10 seconds. I'm gonna give y'all 10 seconds. HBCU is an investment of a lifetime. If you put something into it, you're gonna get something out of it. It's a great investment, and I just hope that you give it a chance.
So I don't know what the question was that somebody had posted. Oh, there it goes. So my work mentor, Herman Macklin, wanted to know, how does it help me deal with working in 4-H that's majority white. So being a HBCU grad basically taught me how to take lemons and make it into apple pie. So it's the perseverance. It is definitely just flipping the script and doing whatever I need to do to accomplish the goal the correct way. And then what I would say as a responsibility for a HBCU graduate is to basically rep your school to the fullest in every aspect that you do. I'm a 4-H agent, but I come to, whenever I go and speak to my students or when I go to a class, I'm always wearing something Norfolk State on it. So a kid will ask me like, "Oh, you went to Norfolk State? That's around the corner, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, you should go there too." So since I've been in 4-H, I know I've encouraged at least 10 youth to attend a HBCU. So I'm happy with that. So just rap it loud and proud and make sure that you show that caring charisma towards everybody that asks you that question.
Mrs. Baker?
I think everyone pretty much summed it up for me. Give back, wear your paraphernalia, talk to folks. If you live in the suburbs, make sure you're at those majority white schools telling them about HBCUs, because there are some of us there, and you want to make sure that we're spreading the knowledge and spreading the awareness. So that's my piece.
All right. Did I miss anybody? All right, so the advice in a nutshell was be the excellence, be the encouragement, be the investor, be the storyteller, be the empowerment, be the voice, be unapologetically Black, and be the representative. And that sums it up in a nutshell. We'll go through. My name is Reverend Dawn Bowles, and I'm a historically Black college university graduate from Virginia State University in Petersburg, Virginia. And we'll just go right again as we close out. Just tell us again your name and the school that you attended. Go ahead, Ms. Cooks.
I am Ashley Cooks, a graduate of Langston University.
I am Benjamin Mcknight III, a graduate of the illustrious Morgan State University.
Kenji Baker, the Alabama Agricultural and Mechanical University.
Nicole Webster, Virginia State University.
Ashley Macklin, Norfolk State University.
James Mason, Norfolk State University, aka Big State.
Big State.
Big State. No.
Corey Cooks. Corey Cooks, and I'm a proud graduate of Langston University, a proud HBCU graduate.
Awesome. And we have been tonight live again from at the 5th Street Baptist Church in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, where our pastor is the Reverend A. Byron Coleman and First Lady Dr. Sherry A. Coleman. My name again is Reverend Dawn Bowles. We're delighted that you have joined us tonight. This has been our under 40 HBCU professional pride. Some of these people on this screen will be crossing over that threshold into the next category pretty shortly. We wanted to highlight them and thank them for the excellence that they have brought to the world as an HBCU grad and as someone who has given and given and given because they realized that they had received and it was their opportunity to turn this around. So we again thank you each. I love each of you, and I thank you for coming on and being a part of this. Drop me your information. We're going to, highlight you on our website, on our Facebook page, and hopefully get some more connections going. We pray God's blessings for each of you as you continue to go forth and be great and realize that everything the HBC gave to you was a blessing from God. And so don't ever take him out of the equation as to how and why and the reasons that you experienced it and the reasons that you were chosen for. So again, God bless you all and thank you. Facebook, we love you. YouTube, we love you. Again, this is at the 5th, Oklahoma City, 5th Street Baptist Church. We love you. Have a wonderful evening.
Mm-hmm.